Welcome to Sing for Your Supper. Welcome back to my series on rethinking Thanksgiving. So the dish I'm going to be making today is something that I didn't grow up with as a kid, but when I moved to the South I noticed it was becoming more and more popular, and yes, green bean casserole. I think no household is without it on the table nowadays. So since I've been learning how to make all these soups in my culinary classes, I thought this year I would try and make my own mushroom soup. And I'm going to try and lighten up the calories a little bit in the process. So I'm going to start out with just a little bit of light butter. This is about a tablespoon and a half. And that's just for flavor. And I'm going to add also some canola oil to that. And I'm going to sweat my mirepoix. Today my mirepoix is going to consist of onions, celery, and parsnips. So in my last video I showed you how to make the mashed parsnips, that's what I call them. And I actually didn't have a whole parsnip to show you, but I just wanted to show you this today. This is what they look like. This is called Fresh Parsnips for You. I thought that was a cute name. So you can see that it looks like a carrot, but it's white, and that's why we're going to use it with the mushroom soup, because I want that nice white color instead of having the orange color from the carrots. So a friend of mine is sick. She just had her tonsils out, so earlier today I was making a soup for her. So I already cut up my mirepoix, so I'm just going to get that into my pot with my light butter and canola oil and let those sweat just until the onions are translucent, but we don't want any brownness on any of those vegetables. So I already have about a 1-pound package of just button mushrooms chopped up, and I'm going to add that into my mirepoix because I want those to get that nice silky texture before we add anything else into there. So while these mushrooms are cooking, I'm just going to give it a couple of shots of soy sauce. First of all, because you think of the classic Campbell soup recipe for green bean casserole, it has soy sauce on it. Second of all, mushrooms and soy sauce have that umami flavor, and you remember me talking about that before. It's that meatiness. So it's just going to give those mushrooms that extra nudge in the right direction. So my mushrooms have cooked down and they've started to release their juices. Now, out of the fat that's surrounding these vegetables, we're going to make our roux. And roux is just a combination of fat and flour. So we're using the butter and the oil that's already in the vegetables. Now we're going to add some flour, and this is that white whole wheat flour. So we're making it just a little bit healthier. And you want to mix it in with the vegetables until it sort of forms a paste. Then once you have that in there, we're going to cook it just for a couple minutes until you just start to smell a little bit of a nutty smell. And that way your flour is not going to taste raw in there. So I can start to smell that slightly nutty aroma coming from the flour. And you don't want it to get too dark. You don't want a brown roux. Okay, just enough to cook out that raw flavor in the flour. And now I know I'm ready to add my liquid. And you want to do this just a little bit at a time. This is just like that gravy, because if you add it all at once, you're going to wind up with big clumps. So you want to just stir after each addition, and that way you won't wind up with those lumps in your soup. Okay, so my soup is simmering, and you just want to stir it every couple of minutes just so it doesn't brown or burn on the bottom. That we definitely don't want that to happen. So since this is going to be a blended or pureed soup, I'm going to make what's called a sachet d'épices. Okay, it's basically like a spice bag. So I have here some cheesecloth, and if you don't want to go out and buy cheesecloth, or if you don't have any in the house, just use a coffee filter and that'll work exactly the same. Alright, so this is not a classic herb to put in a sachet, but I love sage and mushrooms together. So I got my sage in here. I'm going to throw 1 big clove of garlic. I've got some dried thyme. Just going to chop that up a little bit. Alright. If you remember, this is the same sort of spices that we were putting into the chicken stock, but because we're not straining everything out, we want to put it in a bag that we can just pluck right out of there. Okay, so these are little parsley stems. And I have some cloves here. It's not a big pot of soup, so I'm just going to put 1 clove in there. I don't want to overpower those flavors. And I'm just going to put some peppercorns in here and a bay leaf. I think 1 big bay leaf should do it. Alright, and then you just gather it up into a little ball. You tie it with some twine. You should have that baker's twine that I was talking about for trussing the turkey. And just plop that right into your soup. And then when you're ready to puree it, you just pluck it right out, and then you can puree your soup. It smells heavenly. Please make this. It is an incredible smell. And I can't resist. I think soups always do well with a little bit of acid. A better acid than wine. Really just about 1/4 cup. And that's going to wake up all those flavors.